PCIe. Oh crap, my hair hurt. When it comes to good value on a mining rig, there's a lot of misconceptions. Some people just go for the cheapest stuff, which not a good idea. But in this video, I'm gonna go over exactly what you can cheap out on and what you definitely don't wanna cheap out on. First, let's talk about the most important thing, the graphics card, right? It's actually the power supply. The reason being is that the power supply is connected to every part on the rig, from your graphics cards to your fans to the motherboard, the SSD, literally everything is powered by the power supply. Everything relies on it. So that's one part you definitely don't want to cheap out on. You don't have to spend that much money on a power supply. You can just get a standard like gold rated power supply as long as it's made by a reputable company and not made out of a certain place in the world where it may not be known for good quality. And make sure whatever you do, do not get an exploding power supply. Another part to consider on your rig are the risers. They are connected to the most expensive thing on the rig, the GPUs. And just like how you wouldn't go buy a Lamborghini, then go get your oil changed at the Jiffy Lube, it makes no sense to do it that way. You want to buy high quality risers that won't give you a ton of issues. And now come over here and check out this rig right here. So we got these risers from GPUrisers.com. So why would you choose GPU risers over the competition like the ones you get on AliExpress or Amazon for way cheaper? Well, from the quality of the construction of the riser to the just awesomeness of the soldering and everything, we got dual PCIe 6 pins and we got a Molex connector here. Make sure you only plug one in at a time, by the way. So we got these wonderful gold-plated connectors right here, and I'm just holding the part that goes on the GPU, but the cable going into the motherboard looks really great as well. Another thing you want to definitely consider are the cables. The cables connect the power supply to the graphics card, to the motherboard, everything, gives everything power. So generally, if you come here and take a look at these, the stock cables that come with the power supply are generally pretty good, especially if it's from a reputable company like Corsair, EVGA, you know, all of them. These are pretty good. Another kind of cable you want to consider are these right here. These are from COMeap, and what they basically do is they go directly into the power supply and split right at the end for you, so you do not have to buy a splitter. However, if you do need splitters, I recommend the splitters from GPUrisers.com because they also come in white. So these splitters from GPUrisers.com are pretty nice, good quality construction, very good quality cables. I really love it. They come in white and they also come in black. And now the rest of the parts on the rig, like your CPU, your RAM, CPU cooler, and your SSD. So regarding RAM, when it comes to mining specifically, you don't need more than 8 gigs of RAM on a mining rig. You could probably even get away with 4. You really don't need that much because you're not really using RAM for any processes other than just the simple back and forth between the GPU and the CPU. Regarding the CPU, as long as you have at least 2 cores of almost any generation CPU, you're fine because again, the GPUs are doing all the work. The CPU is merely just a highway for all the work to travel on. Storage is not the most crucial part of a mining rig. You can use an SSD like I'm using here, or you could also use a USB flash drive. You could actually use a spinning hard drive on a mining rig if you wanted. It'll run slower, especially if you're remoting into it and trying to run commands or starting it up, but an SSD is recommended. Something like a 32 gigabyte SSD is totally fine. You don't need a ton of space on an SSD. Some people like to use M.2 SSDs on your mining rig, and that's totally fine. Some people like to use that M.2 as a expansion for another graphics card. Those are okay as well. I'm using a mining specific motherboard in this rig, but that's not your only option. Plenty of desktop grade motherboards can handle 5 or more graphics cards. However, it's best practice to check online and make sure that other people have done it with that board, because some of them have a limitation of 3 or 4 graphics cards that you just can't get past. This is a 6-card Veta frame and it can support up to 6 GPUs. But if you need more space, if you want to do 8 GPUs, try checking out the Kingwin frame I just reviewed right here. However, you don't need a mining frame to start. You can do it with your current computer. If it has more space, you can plug in more GPUs into that as well. As long as you have adequate ventilation, You can do it with whatever you have, or you don't even need a frame or a case. You can just lay out all your GPUs on a table, on a shelf, or a rack. Regardless of your setup, make sure you have adequate airflow to keep everything cool and happy. Speaking of airflow, I got right here these beautiful Noctua 140mm fans, and they have the really nice quiet edition. But you don't need anything this high-end. I'm just TekShinji, and of course I always get the high-end. So there you have it. We talked about all the core components to get you up and running, but we haven't addressed the graphics card. That's because getting a graphics card in today's market can be difficult, so I'm gonna leave that part up to you. You may decide to go with something more affordable, or go all out on a rig full of 3090s. Hint, hint. Only you can decide what's the best fit for you. So that's it for this video, guys. If you like what you saw here, hit that like button, hit subscribe, because you don't want to miss what's coming next. We'll see you in the next one. Bye!